As a mom, as a woman, I think I want to make sure that our relationship stays whole through it all.
We did have a lot of time for us. And so right now it's a little bit of time for them. It is a time to give to our children. I think I've been dating for a long time. We've been together since 2007. So 2007 is a lot of seasons we've been through together. And the reason I told this couple, don't rush the whole baby thing, right, is we had a lot of time to get to know each other, a whole lot, before we decided to bring a little into the picture, right? So I want to say when we got married in 2013, we went to Costa Rica and we had a conversation about our lives and what we really want our lives to look like. And at that time, we both had pretty cushy jobs. So making good money, it became a question of, do we plant our flag here? Do we buy a house, start a family, and start our lives that way? Or do we do that thing that we kind of always really wanted to do, where we start a business, we defer some of the family concepts for a bit, and we really go deep on creating something else?
Right.
And I think we made that decision then that we wanted to, bet on ourselves and our ability to create a community and a gym and all the stuff. And so another 6 years after that, we finally got to a place with our new business and all the things where we decided it was time for us to now start the family thing.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of time to
And
date.
you know what's interesting? The amount of pressure you receive during that time where you're married, you're young, your family's asking when you're going to have kids.
When are my grandchildren coming?
Yeah, the public is asking, your friends and family are just, I don't know, maybe it's just in my head, they're wondering, oh, are they ever going to have kids?
Are they ever gonna have kids? My cousin's pretty forward. He's like the closest thing to an older brother I ever had. I talked to him once you got pregnant. He's like, "Oh dang, cousin, I thought your thing was broken, bro. I didn't think you guys were ever gonna have any kids." I was like,
yeah. There's definitely a pressure around that aspect of you're married now, you should have kids, but kudos to us for not
rushing it.
Yeah,
I think it's been really good. I think also we have a stronger foundation that we stand on together, where we actually know what our core values as a family really is. We understand our temperament for one another, and some of those things are incredibly important because in the first year, at least, when you're with your first little, I think it's a little less of that now while we have two, but in the very beginning, that first year feels really lonely. And even though there's other parents and other people that have advice and things about what the first year is like, it's you're sleep deprived, the baby's screaming at you constantly, you're in this fight or flight mode, you don't really feel like yourself, your fitness is suffering, your nutrition's off, again, the sleep thing is just it's non-existent at all. I really felt like a shell of a human for the first 6 months to maybe longer when the first baby was here. And in those moments, you aren't I don't know if I showed up as my best self a lot of those times. I think I was a little aggro. I was a little short with you. I was a little short with other people. I was you probably get the worst of each other at those times.
Right.
So thank God we had more than a decade to stand and have seen the best of each other so that we could understand that this was just a season we were going through.
Yeah. And I think for me personally, looking back at it, and even with now going through it again with Jackson, as a mom, as a woman, I think I want to make sure that our relationship stays whole through it all, because I'm with the boys 90% of the time. With being with the boys 90% of the time, I want to make sure that you're not being neglected emotionally, physically, etc., because it's they're taking up my entire bandwidth. And sometimes I feel it's you get the shit end the shit end of the stick just because I just have no more to give to you. I'm so sorry.
Well, for the record, I've never felt as I got the shit end of the stick. I feel I am constantly telling people, especially the moms that I train or that the moms that come to the gym a lot of the times, I'm constantly in reverence and appreciation of what you give for these children. I think it is insane how much mothers sacrifice of themselves. And you leave me with the boys for a couple hours. I love my boys to death, but Lordy, it is hard. It is hard to be to be with them for, again, 90% of the day. You don't owe me anything. And I think that it's also part of the understanding of the communication and the season we're in is to understand we did have a lot of time for us. And so right now it's a little bit of time for them. It is a time to give to our children. And that's not to say you shouldn't be giving to each other. We still try to actively date. We still, recently we've been able to accept a little bit more help, and that's been really helpful for us to be able to get some more time to each other. And sometimes our dates are at 5 a.m. Sometimes our dates are in the afternoon for lunch. Sometimes our dates are maybe a late night cool concept, but we're finding ways around it.
Yeah, it's definitely like I'm aware of it, and I don't want it to ever like be a thing where one day you look up and you're just roommates, you know?
So that might be a question. It's like, what do you do to make sure that day never comes, right? Like, how do you still love on each other? How do you still court or date? So I'll ask that question. How do we make that happen so that we never wake up in that place?
I mean, I think I think when we set our calendars for the week, like on a Sunday or Monday morning, and we set it for the week and we can intentionally put like a date night in there, I think those are like our best weeks when we can plan ahead.
For sure.
And get a babysitter, even if it's just for a couple hours. We're in I feel like just a different situation because we run a business together too. So sometimes even date nights are just being able to get away.
Like a deep work night.
Yeah. And just being able to connect once a week, like deeply, is beneficial for us. Disneyland was also really fun. I thought escape rooms were great date nights, but we haven't been since Jackson was born.
Yeah, we asked that question, like, what are some of our to-dos for date nights that we could talk about? We're like, escape rooms. Like, you haven't been in escape rooms since, like, the week that you had Jackson.
Yeah, I had contractions during the escape room. We got out.
Yeah, that's the first day I asked the escape room people we got there. Heidi was, like, about to pop pregnant. Wants to do an escape room for some reason, right? So
we went on like a series of escape rooms, like every week we went.
I think it was your fault. I think Ricky and Naughty were telling us a lot about escape rooms.
They're so much fun.
Escape rooms.
They get kind of pricey though. They're pretty pricey.
They add up. But that was the first day I asked the dude. I was like, so
are we like really locked in?
Like, is it really like what do we need to do if we really have to escape?
It's like the door's open.
He's like
the door's unlocked. You could just walk out. Right, cool. I go, okay, cool.
Yeah, you got to ask that question, though, man. Can you imagine being, like, stuck in a room while you're, like, oh, I'm delivering this baby here in this escape room? And you think it's not like the movies. That's what people tell you when the water breaks, it's not like the movies.
Oh, it
is just like the movies. Heidi's water broke with Jordan while I was training a session at the gym. I was training our volleyball team. And one of our front desk girls runs onto the floor. She's like, wow, Heidi's water broke. I'm like, stop playing with me. And she's, like, shaking. I'm like, oh, I think I have to go.
Yeah.
So I pulled out another coach on the floor. I go into the lobby, and it's the
amount of water that comes out is crazy. Like, you think that there's not enough water. I just got nervous that there wasn't enough water for Jordan in there because there's just an insane amount of water. But I guess there's enough. Like, he was fine.
So we talked a lot about like how our relationships maybe changed a little bit through parenthood and stuff, right? What about like fitness? How has fitness changed for us in parenthood?
It's so hard. I try to work out with the boys there, and it just comes back to just being intentional. Like if I'm there, like I go to the gym in the middle of the day, and if I have the boys, like now that Jackson's walking, it's like I can try to work out in between trying to save Jackson from like bolts and dumbbells and all this stuff that he wants to stand on, and Jordan jumping on boxes and running the opposite direction of where Jackson is. Like, it's really hard. That's the fitness.
That was my workout today.
Yeah, so I think what I've been trying to do is, like, when we talk about the perfect day, trying to get a run in or at least go outside in the morning is ideal for me. But again, it's hard when you have like fires and everything else that you're focusing on in the back end.
Yeah, because we're not just raising a family, we're also raising a business. And so
I think there's a season for that. And I'd like it to be this season.
Carving the time out, again, to be intentional in all the places, being intentional in your business, being intentional in your relationship, being intentional with the kiddos. I don't know how anybody does it. I feel like just anything that you are doing that is something positive in the realm of movement, fitness, nutrition, just chalk up a couple of those wins and like put them in a cookie jar or something like that. So, like if you're doing anything positive for your health and fitness while you're also raising littles, like just kudos.
Yeah.
Just kudos. When we ask that question, like what's different about fitness now that we're parents, what's different about fitness for me right now is my goals. My behaviors aren't much different, but my goals are different. I'm not in the season where I need to be the fastest athlete or the strongest lifter or the most competitive Spartan or any of those kind of things. Like, will those seasons come back? Probably. Does that mean that I'm not going to take care of my health and fitness and stay mobile, stay strong, stay conditioned? It doesn't mean that I'm going to give those things up, but the extra time I was spending before to be a little bit more competitive, the extra time I was spending before to be on the trails more for extra hours or things like that, that I think has changed with me a lot now.
Yeah.
Right. So now for me, it's a little bit more potent workouts. I'm trying to get like the minimum effective dose. If I can get the most potent lifts in the shortest amount of time possible for me, that's how I'm getting my wins still. Things that I'm trying to maintain is like my deadlift strength. I try to deadlift at least once a week. I'm trying to do my calisthenic stuff still every week. I do my push-ups, my pull-ups, my dips. I'm still getting in about 15 to 20 miles of running per week, whether it's on the treadmill or I'm starting to get back in the trails. The trail running, unfortunately, was one of my big loves and passions before children, but it does take a lot of time to be on the trails. So I've had a hard time putting that same commitment into my trail running that I used to, and that's been, if I had to say there's a sacrifice I've given up as like a dad, like it's probably trail running. Trail running is like the one thing I used to love so much. But right now it's just a time trade-off because even getting to the trails takes me a half hour to drive there. Warming up is going to take me a half hour. So I'm an hour of sunken cost there. And then it's going to take me about an hour to 2 hours on the trails, plus a half hour to get home. Like most trail excursions for me are going to be somewhere between 2.5 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time to spend away from your family. I think I had one more thought about parenting that I wanted to talk about, which is just like a general advice about fitness or nutrition to other moms. So just a general synopsis, if you could sum up some advice that you could give to moms about fitness, maybe speaking to new moms that are trying to find a balance with all this stuff. What are some of your thoughts there?
I think it just comes down to the accountability part of it. Like, I can't keep myself accountable myself. If it's that important to you, like, get somebody who can hold you accountable and make you put it in the calendar. If you can get that accountability partner, whether it be a trainer or your significant other or a friend, I think that makes the biggest difference.
I've always stood on coaching as like a bedrock of like, I've been coaching for 17, 18 years, and I've almost always had a personal trainer that I've been paying to train me. I'm a cheater. If I'm supposed to do 12, I'll do like 11. If I get tired, I stop. So if I have somebody that, and then the hardest part is showing up. I think the hardest part sometimes is just getting your foot out the door, showing up to the place or whatever. I got a lot of things going on. I can't separate and get myself into that room, into that spot. So I definitely think having somebody else there that you're accountable to actually helps a lot, tremendously.
Yeah.
Well, it's also logistics. Like, how do I get, like, so who's going to watch the kids while I go to the gym? Is it going to be you because you're for it? It's all the stuff. So we got to figure that out. But if we discuss that more, if this is what you need and you're like, hey, I need some time to go to the gym and take a class, then we can make it work.
Yeah.
So, cool. We'll work on it. It's dope.
So advice, go get a trainer.
Go get a trainer. If I had advice for dads, the first thing I'll say is that I've never met a tax that I liked except for dad tax. I dad tax everything, right? So Jordan will bring me whatever. I'm like, dad tax, dad tax. Dad tax is real in our household. However, I could definitely see this going into a slippery slope for most fathers, right? I think it becomes very apparent when dads have been overtaxing their children, right? Where they've been snacking on all the ice creams, all the candies, all the whatever. And again, you feed the boys really well. So I feel like even if I'm dad taxing an apple or something, it's not the end of the world. But my advice for you is going to be like, having children is not an excuse to eat like trash. Your kids are going to eat what you're teaching them to eat. So if you're the McDonald's every night family, if you're the donuts every morning family, if you're the cereal for breakfast person, if this is you, then no wonder your kids want McDonald's, donuts, and cereal. Like, that's what you're teaching them. That's what it's monkey see, monkey do. It's not monkey hear, monkey do. They don't listen to what you're saying and be like, oh, well, what dad's eating doesn't look that good. I'll just eat what he's telling me to eat instead of what he's actually eating. My hope and goal for manhood in my lifetime is to be an example for my boys. The greatest honor I could live through in my lifetime is for my boys to want to grow up and do what I do or to be like me. And in order to do that, I have to live by a certain standard. I'm not saying we have to be perfect all the time, but I'm saying that you can't expect your kids to be healthy if you're not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was great talking with you about parenthood.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about parenthood every day, but it was good to do it officially on mics in a fancy studio. And also, it's just good to have some time with you today. So, and then thanks for tuning in with us on the podcast today. Hopefully there's some value in here that you maybe got some tips about parenting, some tips about nutrition, some tips about mindset, some tips about fitness as a parent. We are not the end-all be-all source on these things. We don't know what we're doing. We're just like any other parents that are trying to figure it all out as we go. So hopefully there's some value or some value exchange that we gave here. I don't know, maybe you disagree with some of the things that we said, or maybe you have your own way that you are leading your family to be healthy and fit. I'd love to hear those things. Like, let's make it a conversation. This is more of a dialogue than a monologue. So we'll look forward to keep talking with you about healthy parenting. And I'm looking forward to living a fantastic life alongside you where we raise healthy children.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Cool. All right, we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.